Hello everyone, this is part 20 of What If Naruto was actually helped by the third Hokage, and I hope you guys enjoy this video and to like, to subscribe, to share, and check out the playlist, to see more comment down below. Now let's start the intro.
They call me a god. They call me a god. They call me a god.
Join my membership, the perks are great. It's in the description. 5 months after the attack on Suna, a council was called to deal with a disturbing discovery. Naruto flashed around the allied countries and brought the Kage together again along with the War Council. The War Council was the international collaboration of elders, strategists and influential people that included the son of the Fire Daimyo, Rasa. The Fire Daimyo pleaded with Naruto to let Rasa join in order to gain leadership experience and offered a generous contribution to the war effort's coffers. Naruto had instructed Rasa to listen more than he spoke and was pleasantly surprised at how well Rasa was fitting into the Allied War Council. The impromptu meeting was called because of a discovery during one of the most recent skirmishes near the border of Hoshi, the Hidden Star Village. Evidently, the patrol had to fight multiple people using Orochimaru's old curse mark and one reanimated ninja. There was an uproar when the sole survivor of the patrol told his story about how his group had just finished off a squad of coalition ninjas that were using the curse mark when Juzo Biwa, a deceased member of the Seven Swordsmen of the Mist, appeared. The spy confirmed that Juzo had black eyes and cracked skin and took a shot to the heart that should have been a killing blow. Then the wound filled over with paper and Juzo used the shock of the allied ninjas to kill most of the squad. Naruto stood up and addressed the room. My fellow War Council, this news is disturbing, but it matches with what the Shinigami told me. For those of you that don't know, Clan Uzumaki and Clan Namikaze have entered a partnership pact with the Shinigami. She told me that Kabuto Yakushi has been tampering with the dead and using Orochimaru's forbidden jutsu. It seems he has also been applying the cursed seal of heaven to some of his forces as well. This makes him an immediate threat and bumps up our timetable. I propose a raid on Hoshi, which I will participate in. We cannot let this threat grow. I stood up. Thank you, Naruto. I have grown tired of sitting on my laurels. I second the proposition. There were many eyes and shouts to take the fight to the coalition and Akatsuki. Hiruzen stood and raised his arms. Silence immediately followed. I agree, the time to act is near. In these times of war, we need a firm leader to rule over the battlefield and coordinate our efforts. I nominate Allied Forces Commander, Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze, for the role of Supreme Commander. This will put him over not only the Allied forces, but give him command authority, in collaboration with each Kage, to order each village's ninja. I ask this, not as the Hokage of the Leaf, but as a believer in our Allied forces. There was muttering before Onoki stood up. I second Hiruzen. I am no longer the Tsuchikage, but I believe in that boy. Each of you knows his character and strength of will. He is the only man I would ever trust with this much power. I stood up once more and shot an imposing stare at Naruto. Are you up for this, young man? Naruto stood with a resolved face and answered Ai's question. Is anybody ever ready to lead men to their deaths? It was Gaara's turn to contribute. Naruto, it is you that united us. You are my first friend and I believe in you. We will shoulder this burden with you, but we need you as our leader. Naruto sighed, looked down for a second and then rose his head with a determined look and the aura of a true leader. I accept. However, I will not sit in some command room. I will use my shadow clones to coordinate with each Kage. If the first target must be Hoshi, then we will have to change our battle approach. Shikaku stood up and asked permission to speak before laying it out. Our original plan was to use the forces of each nation to conduct pincer strikes in collaboration with the allied forces stationed out of the Land of Fire. We wanted to trim the edges, occupy the conquered nations and eventually surround Omegacore. Unfortunately, Hoshi is in between sand, stone and am. We would have to mobilize through the Land of Rivers, which is unofficially part of the coalition. We would lose any element of surprise. Kitsuki spoke up at this point. What if Naruto were to flash a battalion of elite allied forces to Suna and Tariwa? Then we let those two nations conduct the pincer attack. The whole room turned to look at Naruto. That is a lot of people to use the Haration for that distance. I would need a full day of rest after in order to rest my coils and reset. He sounded like he would absolutely dread the experience, but he forced resolve into his tone. So, it is doable? Asked Shikaku, and Naruto nodded. Man, the Hiraishin is practically cheating. How troublesome. There was a debate on when the attack should commence and who should be taken due to the high likelihood of running into Akatsuki members. Naruto also brought up how slippery Kabuto is and how they would only get one shot at this. Naruto proposed using the allied forces as a distraction while he hunted to the Akatsuki base in Hoshi. There were protests against Naruto going alone, which Naruto was forced to concede to. Naruto was compelled to take an elite squad with him from the allied forces. Naruto chose to take Momoki Zabuza, Shisui, Shi and Hisashi Hyuga. Hisashi had been working back into fighting shape and Naruto didn't want to take Neji out of his squad that would be participating in the attack. Hiruzen authorized Naruto to take Shisui, even though he was the Anbu commander. When Naruto was on the field, Kitsuki would lead his forces from Iwa and Gaara would lead his forces from Suna, and each of them would have a shadow clone for emergency communication and battlefield updates. Hiruzen would have command over the allied elements if they needed to be redirected from the main battle. Ultimately, it was decided that the attack would commence in 1 week and Naruto would begin transferring 2 divisions worth of allied shinobi the next day. A week passed in a flash and a state of chakra exhaustion for Naruto. Kurama worked overtime along with Naruto's meditation to soothe the sting of overused chakra coils. Transporting 200 shinobi over 150 miles would do that to a man. Despite the drain, Naruto rested in the compound for the last day before flashing to join Gaara on the border of Land of Wind. Once there, he created 2 clone captains that flashed to the command post and to the Iwa regiment as well. The Suna Hoshi outpost was stationed next to the main bridge that led across the mountain canyon that linked Hoshi and Kase no Kuni. Naruto summoned the entire force of Shadow Kitsune to scout Hoshi and they found a massive base built into the side of Hoshi's mountain. Itachi used his summons to scout from above and laid out the pre-battle positions of the enemy forces. On the border with Kase no Kuni, the main bridge was defended by a large outpost and there were 2 more forts on the path to Hoshigakure. On the border with Tsuchi no Kuni there were 3 large outposts positioned on the mountains overlooking the border with 1 fort on the mountainous path to Hoshigakure. Each of the border outposts had over 200 shinobi and had heavily fortified positions. Each fort had a reserve force of 100 shinobi that would rotate with frontline forces and provide rapid reinforcements if necessary. Shikaku decided to use the assault primarily as a distraction to let the elite task force infiltrate the main base in Hoshigakure. Shisui would carry Naruto, Zabuza, Shi and Hisashi with the Hawk summon boss and use it to fly directly to Hoshigakure. The idea was to distract enemy senses with the main battles and let Naruto to strike surgically from above. If the allied forces could take over all of Hoshi, then an occupying force would take over Hoshigakure and use it to further isolate Am. At 3 a.m. the attack on Hoshi began. The demolition corps was led by Killer Bee on the Suna side and Roshi on the Iwa side. Each Jinchuriki provided high explosive tags and the most powerful destructive jutsu that the allied forces possessed. Before the land bridges went up, Killer Bee did a full transformation with Gyuki and launched a Bijudama at the outpost. After the ball of black and blue chakra crossed the chasm, the results were explosive. The Bijudama decimated the front wall of the outpost along with the primary bridge that has crossed the canyon. Gaara's forces used a collaboration jutsu to establish 5 massive land bridges over the canyon and sent the demolition squads over first to destroy the outpost's other defensive structures. A pitched battle at the canyon lasted for 2 hours. Even with Killer Bee killing nearly 50 of the 200 stationed ninjas and destroying the front wall, the allied forces were still forced to cross a 200-meter canyon while enemy forces attacked. The deciding factor was Gaara and Killer Bee, who used the partial transformations and wide-scale defensive jutsu to protect their forces during the crossing. However, they could only protect 2 of the 5 land bridges that were created to aid the crossing, and the first losses of allied shinobi came due to the collapse of 2 of the bridges. After 2 hours, 250 enemy shinobi lay dead while the allied forces lost 35. 20 of the dead allied shinobi died during the collapse of Bridge 4 and 5. The rest died to enhanced soldiers that were using the cursed mark of heaven. These enemies fought at a mid to high Jonin level and offered fierce resistance and overpowered jutsu. Luckily, the Allied forces were well trained and prepared to deal with this enemy. However, that did not stop them from suffering further losses to the unnatural enemy. At 3 am on the Iwa side of the Hoshi border, 3 simultaneous assaults were launched on the 3 border outposts. There was no canyon separating these forces, but the outposts were stationed to overlook the mountain passes that led into the country. Furthermore, the Allied forces would need to cross 500 meters of flat and barren no man's land in order to begin the climb up the mountain passes. Kitsuki devised a strategy to perform collaboration jutsu to eliminate the enemy's main advantage. The Allied forces led the charge across the no man's land while using defensive techniques to close the gap and absorb the damage of the prepared traps. Then, once in range, the Iwa forces used Earth-style massive mobile core to sink the enemy outposts into the mountain. This didn't kill a majority of the shinobi, but it did put them in a terrible position. The outposts were sunk down into the mountain for nearly 50 meters, which removed the altitude advantage. Then, Allied forces surrounded the edge of the man-made depressions and began raining jutsu after jutsu down on the remaining enemies. The results were catastrophic for Hoshi, and the Iwa side of the Allied forces suffered minimum losses. At 315 am the elite task force made its move. Shisui summoned a massive hawk out of sight of the Hoshi forces. The hawk boss flew over the carnage, and for a brief second Naruto wanted to dismount and help his allies. Multiple times Naruto was told that he couldn't do it all alone and that he would have to trust his comrades. This was being put to the test as he watched the collapse of Bridge 4, and he was forced to watch 10 shinobis plummet to their deaths. Hisashi put a comforting hand on his soldier as he watched the battle with his Byakugan active. Heavy is the hand of the man that leads his fellow man to death's door. The flight to Hoshigakure took 20 minutes, and Naruto dismounted just outside of Hoshigakure at 337 am. Naruto rendezvoused with Kitsubi, a four-tailed shadow fox, at the village perimeter. Kitsubi laid out the best path to the mountainside base and gave Naruto as many details as he could. Hisashi scanned with his Byakugan and watched as forces were being roused from their rest to go and reinforce the front lines. Unfortunately, the mountain bunker was impenetrable with his Byakugan, so they would have to go in blind. Fortunately, Naruto brought along cloaks with stealth seals to aid them on their stealthy journey to the bunker. It took less than 10 minutes for his elite squad to ambush 10 ninjas, seal their bodies and infiltrate the bunker. Unlike Orochimaru's old bases, this bunker was dug out with a traditional earth jutsu and then reinforced with metallic beams. The group dealt with the 2 guards at the front door by Naruto transforming into 2 of the enemy ninjas his group killed en route. When the door was opened, the 2 interior guards were killed in less than 2 seconds by unseen threats. Naruto's stealth seals made Shi and Hisashi appear as simple distortions in the dark night air. Naruto readorned his stealth cloak before heading deeper into the base with his team. In the base was a mad scientist's wonderland, which confirmed to Naruto that Kabuto would be here. There were shackles that held deformed corpses, cages that held prisoners whose life had fled from their eyes, test tubes filled with liquids of various, sinister colors, and large tubes of transparent green liquid that held white humanoid creatures with purple tattoo marks all over their bodies. Room after room was filled with ongoing experiments or simply used as storage for failed experiments. To the horror of Naruto and Kami herself, these storage rooms were filled with the desecrated corpses of unfortunate victims that only met a sweet release after prolonged torture. All in all, the base was devoid of humanity and contained all of the worst monstrosities the imagination of humanity could conjure. Naruto's squad made their way through the first 3 floors without incident, other than mercilessly killing 10 or so shinobi that were moseying through the horror house. It was on the 3rd sublevel that they finally ran into an enemy they all recognized. Sitting on a couch in some sort of lounge was an enormous man with a shark-like face. His blue skin was distinct, and it was the only man any of them knew that possessed gills. Resting on the couch next to the man wearing the Akatsuki cloak was a large, bundled mass that was wrapped in bandages, Samehada. As the group passed the door, Kisame cracked an eye open and put a hand on his sword. Zabuza saw this and told the group to go on ahead before he disabled the cloaking seal and confronted Kisame. Zabuza knew it was his duty to deal with this monster of a man. His previous comrade had gone off the deep end if he was willing to help people that would do something so terrible to so many human beings. He told Naruto to continue before stepping into the lounge and addressing his old teammate. Kisame Hoshigaki, have father mighty have fallen. I never thought that you would partner with S like this. It is low, even for you. Zabuza's growl was menacing, and a demonic aura appeared behind him. Zabuza Momoki, it is you who have fallen. I used to respect the so-called demon of the bloody mist, but now look at you. Playing obedient soldier to the allied forces. Pathetic, retorted Kisame with a wry smirk. Enough, Sharky, let our swords do the talking. Got a place, round here that will let us stretch our blades. With Zabuza's final words, the Kisame sheathed Samehada on his back and calmly walked past Zabuza. In traditional honor of a swordsman, Zabuza let him pass and Kisame led him to a nearby training room. The room wasn't overly large, but it would suit its purpose. A 50 by 50 foot square dug out of the mountain and dug out of the side of the main base would be the site of the battle between the two legendary swordsmen of the mist. Kisame kept walking into the room and stopped once he was over halfway across the room and spun on his heel with Samehada slung over his shoulder casually. Straight up sword fight work for you. I don't feel like drowning underground in this shitty base. Zabuza nodded and unslung Kubikiri Boko and held it in his right hand with the end of the blade resting lightly on the floor of the training ground. Kisame took a coin out of his pocket, positioned it on his thumb and then flicked it into the air. The coin spun rapidly in the air, reached its peak and then began a slow descent back to the training room floor. Ping! The sound reverberated through the training room. In the next second, the two were no more and they were replaced by blurs of motion and clangs of metal. Kisame was stronger than Zabuza straight up and he wielded Samehada more like a brute strength club rather than a traditional sword. Zabuza had a sword with greater length and carving power, but the speed of the fight often resulted in the two men being within headbutting range with crossed blades. Zabuza broke the stalemate with an attempted mule kick to Kisame's chest, which failed as Samehada drew first blood and quite a bit of chakra across Zabuza's right leg. With the space he created, Zabuza wiped Kubikiri Boko along the bloody tear of his pinstripe pants. Kisame watched the legendary sword absorb the blood and repair the nicks and scratches in the blade. Good to see your swordplay hasn't faded while you were playing supervillain. Round 2. Zabuza's breathing was controlled, and he seemed unfazed by losing first blood. Kisame chuckled and Samehada squealed at the fresh blood and chakra it tasted before replying sarcastically. Sure thing, Kohei. Another 10 minutes caused cracks, craters and tears to appear throughout the training room. The two swordsmen clashed blades repeatedly without hesitation and without holding back an ounce of their strength. This time, it was Kisame and swung Samehada in a wide, waist-level, horizontal arc that forced the two to break apart. Round to me, a senpai. This time, Zabuza's breath was labored, and his body and clothes were bloody and full of tears. Kisame was panting and he was resting with two hands on Samehada's hilt with the body of Samehada dug into the ground. He wore a battle-crazed smile on his face, which displayed rows of shark-like teeth and his gills flared. He was in rougher shape than Zabuza with a gash across his chest and multiple cuts on his arms. Chakra was visibly channeling from Samehada into Kisame and his wounds were slowly healing. Yeah, Zabuza, I will give you that one. Tell ya what, winner takes all next round. I don't feel like dying in this shithole and even if I kill you, the QB brat is too much for me. If I let ya go, are you gonna go back to the Akatsuki? Zabuza challenged. Meh, it was a good run but I ain't stupid. That brat united every nation against a rapidly shrinking group of S-rank ninja, trained up an army of S-rankers and is now choking the life out of this petty resistance. If you win this round, I may give you some information in return for an easy escape. What say you? Zabuza contemplated the offer. This guy was always bloodthirsty and just in things for the thrill of the fight. So long as he held Samehada, it is unlikely that Zabuza could kill him unless he severed his head. After a couple seconds, Zabuza nodded. If you swear on Samehada that you will not rejoin the coalition, I agree to your terms. That confident you will win, Zabuza-chan. Kisame's sarcasm was hollow and cautious. Now, it was Zabuza's turn to smirk. You know, Kisame, that brat you speak of is something else. Wanna see something cool? At Kisame's cautious nod, Zabuza formed a rat seal and channeled chakra throughout his body. Seals glowed a brilliant blue and then fizzled out. A powerful chakra burst was emitted and Kisame was forced to grip Samehada tighter to steel his resolve. It turns out that Brat's training program for the so-called elites made our training look like a walk on the beach. Zabuza shook out his arms and legs and then lightly sprung 5 feet in the air. Ah, so good to be free again. Do you know how crushing 3-time gravity and with over 100 pounds on each limb is? Shall we? Zabuza's smirk was so pronounced that it shone through his black face mask. A.N. Zabuza replaced his crusty old facial bandages with a mask like Kakashi's when he joined the Allied forces. I realize I never really specified his appearance. Kisum slid into a defensive stance as he got ready to cross blades once again. Zabuza casually bent down and flipped a coin once again. Ping. Zabuza truly blurred out of existence and Kisum barely counted in time. The previous power that Zabuza displayed was less than a third of the strength that Kisum, or should he say Samehada, felt in that strike. Kisum flushed chakra through his body to try and answer Zabuza's newfound speed. Samehada shrieked in protest as another strong clash sent several scales flying across the training grounds. Kisum was forced to maintain a defensive posture and was being driven back into the wall of the chamber. Zabuza continued to dance around Kisum and landed several minor blows to Kisum's limbs. Zabuza surprised Kisum when he spun like a raging tornado, which forced Kisum to jump back and slam his back into the wall. The Akatsuki member panicked briefly when he felt the wall and the momentary distraction almost cost him his head. Zabuza broke his spin and sent Kubikiriboko flying in a horizontal spin at Kisum's neck. The shark-like ninja barely ducked in time and caught a powerful knee to his chin in return for his efforts. The knee snapped his head up and sent him flying up the wall where Zabuza jumped and landed several powerful punches. Each punch sent bone-crushing power into Kisum's torso and forced the body of Samehada's owner to crater the wall, repeatedly. Zabuza finished the attack with a spinning straight kick and used the force of the blow to flip back toward the center of the training ground. Kisum was a proud member of the 7 Swordsmen of the Mist and the only man that Samehada had acknowledged in this generation. Now, both sword and swordsmen were left in a disheveled state and Kisum knew that Zabuza could kill him at any moment. He forced himself to his feet, wanting to die standing with sword in hand. His beaten face looked up at his once junior swordsman and he saw the power and strength befitting the title. So, you win, Zabuza. Are you going to end this? Zabuza edged his head and looked with puzzlement at his once fellow swordsmen. We agreed to a 3rd round. If you give me information worth letting you live, you get to walk. If the information isn't up to snuff, I will trade your life for Samehada. If you still wish to fight, you die. Choose. Kisum, for this is the last time I will make this offer. Kisum chuckled and brought Samehada to his chest. He fed chakra back into the blade to help it heal from the damage Kubikiriboko caused it. That was the relationship between man and sword. If Kisum didn't provide ample amounts of chakra, Samehada would turn on him and deny him as its master. Damned sentient sword. Kisum spit some blood on the floor and then looked at Zabuza. Madara, or so he calls himself, is getting desperate and so is Pain. Pain is recovering from some operation that Kabuto guy performed. Seems he can move on his own once again and let me tell you, that guy snapped when the brat killed Conan. She was the only thing tethering the so-called god to his sanity. Kisum paused and coughed up some more blood. Also, there is this thing called Zetsu. Evidently some creepy experiment that used Hashirama's cells to create super clones. This lab is trying to infuse them with the power of some meteor they have here. Doesn't seem to be working, but they have thousands of Zetsu. That good enough to let me walk? Zabuza contemplated it. He could get far more out of Kisum but he was honor bound by his word. Zabuza nodded. That is good, I will let you go on the condition that you write out what you know and send it via messenger to Konoha. It will help you in the long run because if these crazy mothers win and rule the world, what would be left? If it is good enough, I could advocate for you to come back to Kiri. I need a good sparring partner. It's humiliating losing to the brat over and over again or thrashing all of the young uns. Kisum seemed to think about it for a bit and had some conversation with Samehada. After a moment, Kisum responded cautiously. I will put what I know on a scroll. If you win and if May agrees to a full pardon, I will consider it. But don't think I would come back to rot in some cell. I would only consider it if you guaranteed it. Zabuza flashed a wide grin. Sure thing, Sharky. I will go to bat for you when the time is right. Mei-chan will listen to me. Kisum's jaw hit the floor. You're in, that bombshell. Talk about dating up. Zabuza scowled and gripped Kubikiriboko menacingly. I suppose I could finish this now, you son of a. Kisum held his hands up defensively. Alright, sorry. Well, good on ya. I suppose I should get outta here. Next we fight, I will get ya back for this one. See ya later, Kohei. He waved casually over his back as he walked past Zabuza. Zabuza scowled and seriously contemplated his actions as he watched Kisum walk out of the training room door. He slung Kubikiriboko and smiled. It felt so good to finally beat Kisum in a match. All the torture that Brat put him through was finally worth it. He brought his head up and decided to continue his mission. He pulled out sealing scrolls and got to work sealing up some of the crazy shit that they found in this lab. Naruto was now walking through the base alone. He left Shi and Hisashi to deal with Kimimaro on the previous floor. Naruto knew his companions could handle the fanatical bone user. She was also a very useful support ninja, and he would be able to support Hisashi effectively. Naruto sensed a familiar and dirty chakra signature up ahead and knew exactly who it belonged to. Naruto prepared a dimensional barrier seal that he developed to deal with Madara. This seal would effectively keep anyone locked in because it separated a set space into its own dimension. That meant that the Haraishin, Shunshin, reverse summoning or any spatial jutsu would be nullified. It was time to deal with a snake trapped in its cage. Naruto saw a dead-end hallway with a door at the end. Naruto slipped through the door and attached the seal to the door upon entering the room. Naruto walked confidently into the room as the absurdly pale ninja flipped around at the activation of the seal. The chakra pulse and the rippling blue-black energy flittering around the room were hard to miss. The determined battleground was a massive laboratory with 20 man-sized tanks filled with lime green liquid holding humanoid creatures. Kabuto was standing over a large map of Hoshi with pieces like pawns laid out on the map. Naruto noticed that the pieces were positioned over the forts and around the city of Hoshigakure. He got a sinking feeling when he saw this, but he had faith in his men. They would be able to overcome anything that Kabuto could throw them on the battlefield. After glancing at the map laid out on the ground, Naruto took a minute to take in Kabuto's appearance. He was several tones paler than he was during the Chunin exams, and upon closer inspection it appeared like his skin was composed of minuscule scales. A memory of Orochimaru's true form flashed through Naruto's mind when he noticed the scales. Kabuto was dressed in an overlong white lab coat, the hood hung from the backside of his neck, and Naruto noticed he no longer wore his glasses. Naruto took note of the pale purple outline around Kabuto's eyes, and his senses told him that he was in some form of sage mode. Naruto came to a resting position before he addressed Kabuto, trying to buy time to gather the natural energy around him. Well, Kabuto team, this is what they call the end of the line. I must know, why did you choose this path when you were freed of Orochimaru's tainted presence? Naruto-kun, don't be silly. Orochimaru-sama was a genius and his work spoke to me. As his apprentice, it was my divine duty to carry his work to completion. I took over where he left off, and I have come to surpass my former master. Look at that board. Kabuto broke out in a fit of evil laughter as Naruto's gaze once again drifted to the map. Orochimaru-sama could never control more than 3 at one time, and I have 20 of history's strongest ninjas at one time. I have taken the curse mark and perfected it. I know the genetic markers that can take the seal of heaven, and I have taken it to new heights. Orochimaru could only get 1 in 10 to survive, now I get 9 out of 10. I am science, Naruto-kun. I am what takes humanity to the next stage of our evolution. Naruto couldn't believe the insanity Kabuto was spewing, even though he acknowledged the threat that he posed. He was struggling to wrap his mind around that many cursed seal uses, and he couldn't shake the mention of 20 of history's strongest ninjas. Are you telling me you have 20 Edo Tensei resurrected shinobi on the battlefield right now? Naruto's tone cut through the evil laughter with a razor-sharp seriousness. Kabuto looked offended that Naruto didn't want to play with him. Indeed, Naruto-kun. Oh, and if you think killing me will solve that little problem, you are sorely mistaken. I am the only one who can release them from the Edo Tensei. I don't know about that one, Kabuto team. Even if the contract stands upon your death, we can just seal them away. I taught my people well enough that they can deal with your cheap tricks. Kabuto broke out in another fit of evil laughter. He spoke in a wide tone. Okay, Naruto-kun, how about I bring out a surprise I was saving just for you? Naruto ed an eyebrow and made a go-ahead gesture with his right hand. He didn't know why he was indulging Kabuto, but he wanted to see what this filth would try to pull on him. Kurama was barking at him to just end the filthy ninja and get it over with, which was promptly ignored by Naruto. Naruto had never indulged in the talk no jutsu, and he wanted to understand why these powerful people would go to such lengths to obtain power. Kabuto flashed through a long series of hand seals and slammed his hand on the ground. The chain of kanji began to spread out from his right hand before the seals flashed red and broke apart. Kabuto looked confused when his summons wouldn't come to him and was about to try again when he heard Naruto laughing. He looked up incredulously at Naruto and was about to demand an explanation. Oh, Kabuto team, you don't know the barrier I used. You cannot summon in here, you cannot send commands to your summons out there, and you cannot escape from here, little snake. You are stuck in here with me, mono a mono. So, is there anything else you want to get off your chest before I send you to meet Shin? She is rather upset with you. Kabuto was sweating. He knew the power Naruto held, and all Akatsuki members were ordered to disengage whenever Naruto showed himself. Madara and Pain were coming up with a way to deal with Naruto, and Kabuto knew that he was nowhere near the level of those two. Maybe if he could use the Edo Tensei, but without it. No way. Well, Naruto-kun, how about a trade of information for freedom? Naruto ed another eyebrow. How about no? The Shinigami herself put a hit out on you, and I am her agent on this plane. It is your time, so make peace with that. If you want to confess your sins, I will listen. If you want to offer information, I will take it. However, there is no way you leave this room, Kabuto team. Kabuto let despair flicker across his visage for a brief instant before he firmed his resolve. Kabuto extended his left hand and launched a chain of snakes at Naruto. This particular body modification allowed for Kabuto to transform his arm into snakes, a more powerful version of Anko's hidden shadow snake hands. In a flicker of movement, Naruto severed the head of each and every snake. Kabuto saw the flicker of light, but he couldn't make out the blade. He was forced to bear witness to the result though, several snake heads puffing out of existence on the ground while his arm was a writhing mass of headless snakes. Kabuto transformed his arm back to its normal state before blurring forward and attempting to fight Naruto in a taijutsu battle. Both sages were flickers of movement, flashes of fists and resounding thuds of flesh on flesh. Naruto's speed allowed him to take his father's hummingbird fist to the next level, and he landed several powerful blows on the joints of Kabuto's arms. If the snake didn't undergo body transformation, he would have lost complete use of his arms. The cartilaginous joints simply popped back into place and allowed Kabuto to continue the exchange of blows. Naruto created an opening and landed a spinning straight kick on Kabuto's chest. The blow lacked the normal cracking of ribs, but it did its job and sent Kabuto flying into the wall, which flickered a dark blue as it absorbed Kabuto's impact. Kabuto stood from his crumpled form and looked up at the motionless form of Naruto. The infuriating blonde simply yawned at Kabuto and put his hands in his pockets. Not bad, Kabuto team. I thought you were supposed to be S-ranked though. Wasn't that a prerequisite for joining your little boys club? Kabuto snarled at Naruto. Well, Naruto-kun, we all fight in different ways. It appears you took one of my advantages, but I guess it is time to show you the results of my research. Once Kabuto finished his address, black curse marks began wrapping around Kabuto's body, and then things got weird. Once the cursed seals finished their expansion, Kabuto's body began transforming. His lower body transformed completely into a white snake, and two small, dragon-like wings sprouted from his back. The scales on his skin became more pronounced, and Kabuto's nose receded into his face and became two snake-like slits. This is my true power, Naruto-kun. Here I come. Despite lacking legs, Kabuto blurred forward far faster than his last attempt. Naruto answered blow for blow once again, but he was beginning to take more hits than their last exchange. Furthermore, Kabuto was attacking from extremely odd angles, and he was dodging blows by bending his body in unnatural angles to avoid Naruto's strikes. Then Kabuto's hand glowed green and a chakra fang sprouted from each hand. Naruto could sense the corrosive chakra that the blades were formed out of, and he wanted to avoid taking any hits from those foul fangs. Naruto was forced to concede that he would need to power up if he didn't wish to be overwhelmed. It seems playtime was over. While dodging strikes from Kabuto, Naruto called to Kurama in his mind and Kurama began to sync with Naruto. In an instant, Naruto was shrouded in his golden cloak with the black and red markings indicating that Naruto was in his Kyuubi Sage mode. Naruto kicked Kabuto back once again and withdrew a katana that Naruto handcrafted to match Whirlpool's edge. The best craftsman in Tetsu no Kuni accepted the commission and worked with him to craft this beauty of a blade. Naruto loved Whirlpool's edge, but he wanted to get it a longer counterpart. Naruto spent a considerable amount of money to get the highest quality materials and then he got some ore from the kitsune in the sage woods. After a month of crafting and reinforcing with seals, Naruto's collaboration was completed. Heaven's Rampart was a 60-inch katana with a white tsuba and a silken white grip. Seals glowed with Naruto's chakra along the length of the beautiful black blade that had a white edge. The guard was fashioned as a cloud, and it was composing of a platinum that glowed with a heavenly white. The tassel was 6 inches in length and ended with his family seal. The combined Namai's kanji rested on the back of Kyuubi, who was encircled in a golden whirlpool. Next to this emblem was the emblem of the Shinigami to announce that Naruto was Shinigami's chosen. With all that said, Heaven's Rampart was ready for its first taste of blood. Naruto held Heaven's Rampart in his right hand and Whirlpool's edge in his left. Their seals glowed as Naruto channeled wind chakra into the blades and the edges extended nearly a full foot in a deadly cutting edge. The translucent glow of the wind blades picked up the glow of Naruto's golden cloak and appeared to glow golden as well. Naruto looked like a heavenly warrior ready to measure out divine punishment. Before Kabuto could process anything, Naruto flashed around him several times. The blades sung through the air in a beautiful dance of jewel blades that severed everything with little to no resistance. Kabuto blinked and then blinked again as Naruto's golden form reappeared in front of him. He processed the wise smirk on the golden face and the fact that Naruto was no longer holding his blades in hand. Then the pain registered, and he watched as his body fell apart. It started as his torso separated from his tail, then he noticed each finger fall from the hand before the had separated from the wrist. Then each forearm was separated from each elbow and the humerus was bisected in equal halves before the head of the humerus was separated from the shoulder. Even the godly regenerative abilities couldn't save the man-snake hybrid as blood was spurting out of every wound. Kabuto knew that he would need to use nearly half of his chakra reserves, but he had no choice, the damage was too severe. He used Orochimaru's original regeneration jutsu. He formed a new body inside his torso and began to escape from his previous skin's unhinged jaw. As his arms were freed from the shed body, a golden hand clamped around his throat and his whole body went limp. The regeneration was incomplete because his chakra flow was halted by the seal that now adorned his throat. The chakra lock seal completely froze all movement in the subject's chakra, and it also meant that Kabuto could no longer put up a fight against his golden-cloaked opponent. Well, Kabuto team, I don't enjoy killing, but as I said, Shin has claimed your soul. Sadly, we won't see each other again because there is no way you will make it to the pure world. Any last words? Naruto released Kabuto's throat after applying a paralysis seal on top of his chakra lock seal. Kabuto coughed and gasped for air as he looked up into the golden, slitted eyes that gleamed at him through the dark in the room. He noticed the black and blue barrier disperse out of the corner of his eye. He was bitter that the man responsible for his master's death would also be the one to end him. He cursed internally as he searched for a way out of this predicament. Due to his musings, he lost the opportunity to offer last words. Before he knew it, a frozen presence entered the chamber, and his paralyzed body became more rigid as the entity made its presence known to him. In front of him was the Shinigami of legend, complete with her mask and deathly appearance. It terrified every fiber of his being as he gaped at his end. Shin was relaxing in her realm when she felt the pull of her summoner and chosen champion. A pleased smile flitted upon her face before she donned her mask and answered the call. When she arrived in the mortal realm, she took in the glowing figure of her champion. She couldn't help herself as she floated behind him and wrapped him in a playful and flirtatious hug. She let a playful finger pass over his whisker marks before she rose to her full and terrifying height to address the mortal that dared cheat her. Her aura flared and she watched as the mortal cringed in fear and gaped at her presence. Feeling that there was no value swapping words with this filth, she extended a finger and it pierced into Kabuto's heart. From the heart, she drew out the tainted purplish soul of the petty human. Normal souls were a glowing silver with slight variations that showed the purity or taint of the soul. For this human's soul to be so dark and tainted, she knew that there was no good in him. With no remorse or emotion, she devoured Kabuto's soul and sighed in content as her champion's contract was completed. She morphed into her true form so that her champion may enjoy her presence for the ensuing conversation. Ah, Naruto-kun, you are a most excellent champion. You never disappoint, my chosen one. I will allow you another favor, should you wish to ask anything of me. She paused her and stepped forward to once again cradle his face in her hand and play with his whiskers. She noticed Naruto's head lean into her warm caress and a content smile appeared on his face as a low purr emanated from deep in his throat. Ara, do you wish for me, Naruto-kun? Shin's playful tone snapped Naruto out of his pleasurable trance and he remembered that he was dealing with the deity of death. SS Shin, it is good to see you again. I am humbled to be of use to you. You should stop by and see the kids, they are growing so fast. Shin giggled playful at Naruto's cute stutter. I will just have to do that. Do summon me once you return to your home. I sense that there is much death near here. It seems my girls will be busy tonight. Do you have to create so much paperwork for me, Naruto-kun? Naruto got a cheeky grin and made his signature seal. A clone of Naruto appeared wearing the same cheeky grin and Shin sighed as Naruto laughed. Come on Shin, you are a goddess in looks and power, surely you can deal with a bit of paperwork. Shin smiled coyly and she had an eyebrow in challenge. Ara, are you making fun of me, Naruto-kun? Naruto tamed the enormous smile that was on his face but there remained a playful glint in his golden eyes. He put a hand over his heart and a mock-offended look on his face. Oh, Shinigami-sama, I would never. Hee. Well Shin, is there anyone else that has earned your ire? Shin skate playfully, always straight to business with you, Naruto-kun. Nobody else is currently on my radar but I will let you know if anything changes. Before I go, I will collect the souls you have gathered. She stretched her beautiful, pale arm and grabbed Naruto's right hand where the seal resided. You have been a busy man, my champion. I look forward to seeing you family again, Naruto-kun. She disappeared from the mortal realm and went to wait for the call to visit Naruto's family. Naruto shook his head to return to business mode. He took in the destroyed lab room, and he decided that it was time to begin cleanup operations. He created 100 shadow clones and get them each a custom storage scroll that would allow them to seal up 100 cubic meters. Each clone spread out through the mountain laboratory to begin collecting as much information as they could. The original Naruto let his clones handle their business as he walked back out of the depths of the laboratory. He came across the room where he left Hisashi and she and found the aftermath of a chaotic battle. There were bones strewn around the room and in the center looked like a circular explosion of bones burst out of the floor. In the center of the circle was a man encased up to his waist in bone and it looks like all of the bones came from him. She was patching up a wound on Hisashi's abdomen that was bleeding profusely. Naruto jumped over to the pair, put a glowing green palm on the wound and the wound began to close. Looks like y'all had quite the battle. Was here, Shikatsumiyaku, dead bone pulse, user? Naruto asked as he looked up at the pair. Hisashi grunted as the pain in his abdomen receded. According to Ribiki, this is the guy that freed Kabuto during the invasion. And yes, he used the bone bloodline, quite effectively I might add. She chipped in, he also had that damned curse mark. It seems like the mark ended up killing him though. After this big attack you see here, he just croaked. Good thing he did, too. Those bones cancelled out most of our attacks. When we released our seals, he used his curse mark, and it became a pitched battle. Hisashi's monotone voice reminded Naruto of the typical Hyuga mentality, but Naruto could see the bit of life and playful banter in his eyes. Naruto whistled. Sounds like you guys had a better fight than I did. I took out Kabuto but the fight itself was kind of a letdown. He used the Snake Sage mode and put up a mild fight, but he didn't even draw blood on me. She and Hisashi looked stunned before she stuttered out, YYUF Forte SS Sage AA and you think it was T2 easy. Naruto shrugged his shoulders as he finished healing Hisashi. Yosh, that should do it until we can get you to a doc. I am decent at healing, but Sunadbachan still makes me look like an amateur. Alright, I have clones collecting intel from around the labs, so let's get Zabuza and get ready to leave. She and Hisashi nodded and rose to join Naruto. There wasn't anything worth collecting in the room, so they made their way to the hallway and climbed the staircase to the level where they left Zabuza. They found the swordsman leaning against the wall at the top of the stairs. Without a word, he handed a scroll to Naruto and joined the group. They shared stories of their battles until a group of clones approached Naruto and handed him a bundle of sealing scrolls. Once Naruto pocketed the scrolls, each member of the group put a hand on Naruto's shoulder, and he flashed them to the headquarters. In the headquarters, at 3 a.m., a clone of Naruto was taking in battle reports from the intelligence corps. Inoiki was wearing some sort of headset that was connected to a massive orb of sensing chakra. Inoiki and another ninja from Kumo maintained a direct link with Gaara and Kitsuki. They were relaying battle states and developments on each front. Inoiki could also activate links to platoon leaders in order to get more detailed information. Everything was going according to plan and Naruto was working with Shikaku Nara to make adjustments and direct reinforcements. At 330 am, Naruto told everyone that the original was going dark as he entered the mountain base. Immediately following that, Inoiki informed the command team that shinobi with the cursed marks were appearing from the forts en route to Hoshigakure. Elite shinobi had already engaged, and the battle was proceeding as planned until the allied forces started to take losses. It was 2 minutes later that things got worse, and the command team was forced to respond. Across the battlefield, 20 resurrected shinobi appeared to reinforce the coalition. Each of the resurrected shinobi were Beta-S-class threats and included historical shinobi like the second Tsuchikage, Mu, multiple members of the previous generation of the 7 swordsmen of the Mist and various Jonin-level shinobi from various villages. Naruto clone talked briefly with Shikaku before he called for Ai, Mei, Jiraiya and Onoki to join him. Tsunade grumbled loudly about damned babies and not being able to fight. The clone flashed to the various battlegrounds that to the seals that each platoon leader carried with them and deposited each legendary shinobi to deal with their resurrected adversaries. Sealing ninjas remained on standby to seal away the resurrected shinobi. The fights were pitched, and the devastation was on a different level than a standard shinobi battle. By 345 am, 8 of the 20 resurrected shinobi had been sealed away and then something happened. Multiple reports came in about the reanimated shinobi getting their personalities back and talking. The resistance they put up also decreased as the summoned souls fought against the influence of the Edo Tensei. By 4 a.m. all reanimated shinobi were sealed away, and Naruto flashed to the leaders of the allied forces to bring them back to the command center. The allied forces continued with minor resistance to Hoshigakure. By first light, the occupation of Hoshigakure began and the wounded allied shinobi were evacuated. Naruto flashed into the command center with his elite task force to a round of applause by those present. He gave a cheeky grin and a flashy bow before returning to command mode. He had his clone dispel and spent 5 minutes reviewing the memories. He informed everyone of what happened on his end and why the Edo Tensei was partially disrupted. He gave the sealing scrolls to the intelligence corps to begin going through the information while he gave 5 scrolls to Tsunade. She had an eyebrow at him as if asking for an explanation. In these scrolls are the bodies of Kimimaro, Kabuto, some white plant clone, some white clone with a cursed mark and one of the enemy shinobi that had the cursed seal, but it was different because it glowed purple. I want you to investigate them and let everyone know what we are dealing with. Tsunade nodded at Naruto's command and pocketed the scrolls for later inspection. The raid on Hoshi lasted for less than 6 hours and produced favorable results. However, there were many losses. With the morning sun came the mourning of fallen comrades. Medical tents were full and critical injuries were being evacuated to hospitals. Overall, there were 900 enemies slain on the multiple battlefields and the Allied forces lost 150. There were 222 enemies captured and they were being treated as prisoners of war. All enemies with the cursed seals fought to the death, so there were none of those left among the POWs. Tsunade was coordinating the medical corps to treat the wounded patients. There were over 300 casualties that the Allied forces were triagging. Any critical patient that was stable enough for Naruto to flash to Konoha Hospital was given the short version of transportation. Unfortunately, there were many critically injured shinobi that wouldn't be able to withstand the stress of the spacetime technique. Ninjas could be seen darting towards Sunagakure or Awagakure to get the critically injured to the hospitals. The chaos was distressing, but the overall environment was positive and productive. Everyone, even the injured, was high on the first victory of the Fourth Great Shinobi War. That will be all for this video. Be sure to like, subscribe, share, and comment down below for more videos. Goodbye.